So today in this video, I wanted to talk about this Skilland Thunderbolt 5 cable that I just received in my mailbox. So this is basically not a sponsored video, but Skilland was really just kind enough to send me two of these cables. I just opened one of them and I installed this one on this Mac Mini M4. Now this is a Thunderbolt 5 cable, but my Mac Mini M4, it does not support the Thunderbolt 5 connection, but we can at least see that if we're able to get about the 40 gigabyte of the connection speed instead of 80 gigabytes per second as what we can see on this packaging. So let us just unbox this one because I already unboxed this other one and see that what we really get inside of this packaging. Now one thing that I really notice about this thing is that the packaging on this thing is actually really good, and as you can see that I can just not tear this thing apart at all, which is really a very good starting for this brand because I'm sure that not a lot of people they know about this brand. So the way to open this thing is actually from the top, so there is no a tear apart thing as what I was guessing before, and you can see that it is just normal ziplock kind of thing as what we have got on this one. Now let us open this thing and see that what we have got inside of the packaging. So basically this is the packaging, and along with that we have just got this starter guide along with this Thunderbolt 5 cable. Now this thing is pretty standard, just telling you that what is this stuff all about in different languages, the FCC standard, and so much so, which is really a good thing to include in the packaging. Now as you can see that this is the cable that what we have got, and there are this USB type C caps on either side of this port. Now the first thing that I really notice about this thing is that this is really a very high quality cable. You have also got this strap to be able to organize this cable the way that you just want to. So just wrap around this thing and just make sure that you are tying this thing with this thing as you can see in this video. So here we go. You can just tie this thing with the help of this knot, and this just makes your life a bit more easy. Now one thing that I noticed about this thing, that this is really a very thick cable, and that might be just to make sure to comply with the Thunderbolt 5 connection compliance as what we have got in this market. And also this thing is about a 1.5 meter cable as I guess so. So let me just take a look at the specifications in here, and this is indeed a 1.5 meter long cable. Now initially I was not making this video because when Skilland reached out to me, they wanted me to say a few things about this cable, just because I just told them that making a 5-minute video about just a cable is not something that I was willing to do, and they just sent me a few of the things that they wanted me to say, and I was like that this is not the way that how we make the videos on this YouTube channel, and this is basically all about the testing and how my experience is with the brand, and that is really what we share on this YouTube channel. But let us really go through the various points that what Skilland has really offered us to speak about in this video and see that any of those claims are actually right or no. Now as you can see that in this video that they have mentioned that the speed is about 80 gigabyte per second, and this is really what I won't be able to test, but I can just really test that if we are able to achieve the Thunderbolt 4 connection speeds on this thing or no. And I'm pretty sure that with this thing we would also know that this cable is a high quality one enough or no to support 80 gigabyte per second of the speed as what is mentioned on the tip of this USB type C connection. Now as you can see in this video that we have already set up everything on this Mac Mini M4. There is this external SSD that is connected via one of these extra cables that what I have connected through my Mac Mini M4 to this external SSD, and this file size is about 16.82 gigabyte. Now let us see that how this thing is going to transfer, because this is again a 40 gigabyte per second worth of the connection, because again the Mac Mini M4 that I've got, it does not support any kind of connection that is basically the Thunderbolt 5 one. And as you can see that it takes about, I would say, less than 10 seconds to be able to complete this transfer. And here we go. I'm sure that when I was doing the transfer before it was even faster, but here we go. it is about less than 10 seconds to be able to transfer this big file on my Mac Mini M4, and that is really very impressive. At this point, I really think that Skilland just did not need to send me any instructions for this thing, because this is already a very good cable. Now the next thing that what this brand mentioned to me is that this thing, it does support about 240 watt of the fast charging if we just use this cable, and that is very interesting. Anything that I've got in the studio, it is just about 65 watt of charger, but I think that what they really mean to say is that if you have got any kind of USB hub that is there on your studio, in your home, in your office or something, you can just use this cable to connect along with your laptop or your PC, and you can just charge multiple devices at the same time, and the maximum output would be about 240 watt of the fast charging on this thing. But let us really connect this thing to the 65 watt charger and see that if we are even getting any decent speeds on this thing or no. So just give me a second, and here we go. So let us just see that if it, oh, okay, so it does say that it does support the USB 3, or I would say the power delivery 3, as what it should be supporting on the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. So let us remove this thing and put it back again, and you can see that it does support the fast charging standard on my Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra at its full strength. So which is really again a very positive thing, that what I was not expecting out of this thing. And even actually they do say that it does support PD 3.1 charging up to 240 watt max, 48 volt at 5 amperes, so which is about right, I would say. And also, this thing is backward compatible with the 60 watt, 100 watt and 140 watt of the charging speeds on a device. So basically, you know, when you see the PD 3.0 charging on this thing on my Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, it is just telling about the right thing. And also, it does support the docks and the GAN chargers, and that is basically what we have got in the studio. This one is really a GAN charger from Ukraine, and it does really perform very well. Now the next thing that what this brand it mentioned to me is that this is really a very high quality cable, and it is about a 48 strand braided nylon cable, and this is something that I can really confirm in this video, along with the fact that this is really a very thick cable as well, as what you can see. And also the connector on this thing is also quite surprisingly stable. So let me just put this thing to my Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, and you can see that it just does not wobble a lot. It does have a bit of the wobble, but not to the point where I can say that, okay, you know, that this is not really a very highly secured connection on a device. But another thing that what they say that I cannot really test about in this video is that this has got about a triple shielding. One of them is really a tin plated EMI foil along with the 28 AWG oxygen free copper, and the other one is a rhodium plated connector as what it is there, but I just did not really know that this connector is rhodium plated or no, or if there is something inside of this connector. But let us do it this way, that if you give this video about 2000 like and about 100 comments on this video, we will just make sure that we will open up this Thunderbolt 5 cable and see that what is there inside of this thing. Or even maybe if you're willing to give me about, I would say about 10,000 likes and about 1,000 comments, we will buy a Mac Mini M5 or a MacBook Pro M5 just to make sure that we have something that is compatible with this Thunderbolt 5 cable and do all the testing with this thing. So it is really upon you, but what I really want to show about in this video is to use this cable to lift about a 10 kilogram of a dumbbell. Now this company, it said me that you can just test this thing with a 5 kilogram of the dumbbell, which is not something that what I have. So I have got about a 20 lb of a dumbbell, and that is what we will be using to basically test the strength of this cable. And I hope that after this thing I'm still able to use this cable as my daily. So here we go. I have tied this thing with my dumbbell, and let me just give this thing another knot. So here I go, a second knot on this thing, and I hope so that this thing it works after I just untie this thing and try to use it with my Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra to just charge my device. So here we go. I think that this would have done pretty fine. I do see that the nylon abrasion is actually pretty strong and it has not really caused a lot of damage. But this is my Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra put to this thing, and I will just connect the other end to my laptop instead of putting it to the charger. And it does still support the fast charging, but let us again do one thing. Let us connect this thing to my Mac Mini M4 and see that if the transfer speeds are still good or no. So let me just go back and see that if I can just set this thing up or no. So here is my Mac Mini. I will take out the original cable. I think it was this one. I will put this one in over here, and I will connect this thing to my external SSD, which is sitting inside of this mini Sopro hub over here. So this is the thing, and we will again connect this thing to my Mac Mini M4 and just see that how the transfer speeds are there on this video. So let us just delete the original file, go to this thing again and transfer the same file. So oops, not this thing, but okay, as you can see that the speed on this thing is actually pretty much retained, and that is something that is very much surprising to me. So I think that this thing has passed all the tests as what this brand mentioned to me, and I actually am very surprised by this thing. Now another thing that what they wanted me to do is that they wanted a pet to chew this data cable and see that if it works after that or no, and the cable skin on this thing is damaged or no. So I do not have got any sort of pet at my home, but let us just try to chew this cable just for you to see that if the claims are even true or no. So here we go. Yeah, definitely it does not taste good, but okay, yeah, okay. So this thing is not deforming. I can just twist it around a couple of times, and as you can see that it just does not deform at all. And again, this thing is really a very cheap one if compared to something like what we have from Apple and all the other big brands in the market. But let me just see again that what is this thing really costing. So this thing, if you go to Amazon, this thing it costs just about 24 Canadian dollars, or actually not 24 Canadian dollars, it is about, if we just take about, I would say 1.5 feet of this cable, so this is just about 25 US dollar, and that is really a very good price for a cable that is about 1.5 feet, and that gives you about an 80 gigabyte per second of the speed. And well, now with that said, that was all that what I wanted to share about in this video. I think that this is what happens after a few years, after a new technology is released and it is distributed to a lot of other brands, and this is how a very expensive product it can be made at a cheaper cost after a few years. And that is exactly that what is happening with this Skilland USB 4 cable with the Thunderbolt 5 connection. Well, that was all. My name is Anshul. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.